The crew of the Hope stood frozen for a moment, processing the sight before them. They had been preparing for a confrontation, but instead, an alien had approached them. Sarah took a step forward, heart pounding with excitement and fear. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am Vex, envoy of the Galactic Council," he replied. "We have been watching you, and it is clear that you are not like the other species in the galaxy. Your spirit of exploration is admirable, but we have concerns about your presence here." "What do you want from us?" Alex questioned, taking a cautious step forward. Vex lowered his hands. "I want to understand your intentions. We have seen your courage, and we wish to know if you can be allies in the galaxy, rather than threats." The crew exchanged glances, uncertainty written on their faces. The moment they had feared was here, and how they responded could change everything. Sarah took a deep breath, sensing the weight of the moment. "We come in peace," she said, her voice firm. "We are explorers, seeking knowledge and connection. We want to learn about this galaxy, and if you will allow us, we would like to work together." Vex's eyes narrowed, studying her carefully. "Then let us talk. There is much to discuss." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold, the two parties stood together on the edge of a new beginning. The first contact had been made, and the fate of their worlds now rested on the bridge they were about to build. This part explores the Council's decision-making process and the pivotal moment of first contact. Let me know if you'd like to adjust or expand on anything. You said 5. ChatGPT said. ChatGPT. Part 5. The First Contact. As the stars twinkled in the darkening sky, Sarah and her crew gathered around Vex, the envoy from the Galactic Council. The air was thick with anticipation as they prepared for this momentous first contact. The humans were eager to learn about their new ally, while Vex sought to understand these strange beings from the distant blue planet. "Let's find a suitable place to talk," Sarah suggested, gesturing toward a clearing not far from their camp. "It will be quieter there." Vex nodded, and they walked together into the clearing. The sounds of the planet surrounded them: chirping insects, rustling leaves, and the soft whisper of the wind. As they settled into a circle, Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on them. This meeting could alter the fate of their two worlds. "Tell me about your species," Vex began, his voice steady yet curious. "What drives you to explore?" "We seek knowledge," Sarah replied, her enthusiasm shining through. "We want to learn about the universe, to understand what lies beyond our planet. Exploration is in our nature. We believe that by discovering new worlds, we can better ourselves and our home." Vex listened intently, his shimmering skin reflecting the faint light of the stars above. "And how do you view other species in the galaxy? Do you see them as potential allies, or do you seek to conquer?" Sarah shook her head, determined to make their intentions clear. "We have no desire to conquer. Our history has taught us that collaboration brings progress. We believe in coexistence. Every species has something unique to offer, and we want to learn from them, not fight them." Vex's expression softened as he considered her words. This is a refreshing perspective. Many civilizations in the galaxy seek power and dominance. It is rare to find one that values knowledge over conquest. "But you are not here to discuss philosophies," Sarah said, her tone shifting to a more serious note. "You mentioned concerns about our presence. What are those concerns?" Vex took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Your planet is known as a death world. Many species perceive it as a place of danger, where survival is a constant struggle. The Galactic Council is wary of how humans, with their survival instinct, might influence other species." Sarah frowned, recognizing the weight of those words. "We have faced challenges, yes, but we've also overcome them. Our struggles have made us strong. We are not here to impose our ways on anyone." Vex nodded, acknowledging her point. "The Council wishes to ensure that your arrival does not disrupt the delicate balance of the galaxy. We must proceed with caution. At this moment, Alex, one of Sarah's crew members, spoke up. What if we could prove ourselves? What if we could show you that humans can contribute positively to the galaxy? The distress signal. In the vastness of space, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Leaders from different alien species gathered in a grand chamber filled with holographic displays. The atmosphere was tense as they discussed a distress signal that had been detected from a remote planet. The planet, known as Xiphoria, was shrouded in dark clouds and frequent storms. It was notorious for its harsh conditions and dangerous creatures. The Council had received a message filled with desperation. "Help us. We are dying." The words echoed through the chamber, piercing the arrogance of the Council members. Admiral Tazar, a tall alien with shimmering scales, stood at the front of the room. He shook his head in disbelief as he read the signal again. "This planet is not worth our time," he declared, waving his hand dismissively. "Xiphoria is a death trap. No intelligent species would choose to live there." The other members nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting their disdain for the planet. "We cannot waste resources on such a hopeless cause," said a small, round alien named Glip. His many eyes blinked rapidly as he spoke. "Let the inhabitants fend for themselves. They should have known better than to inhabit such a dangerous world." In the corner of the room, a human named Captain Sarah Johnson listened intently. She was a space explorer, and her heart raced as she heard the desperation in the signal. Unlike the Council members, she felt a strong urge to help. "Admiral Tazar," she interjected, her voice steady yet passionate, "we cannot ignore their plea for help. If we do nothing, many lives will be lost." The Council members turned to her, surprised that a human dared to speak up. Admiral Tazar frowned. "This is not a matter for humans. You do not understand the dangers of Xiphoria. It is a lethal planet. But that doesn't mean we can just abandon them." Sarah replied. "They are suffering, and we have the resources to help. Imagine if we were in their position. Wouldn't we want someone to come to our aid?" A murmur spread through the room as some Council members began to consider her words. However, Tazar quickly silenced the crowd. "Your emotions do not change the reality. The Council has made its decision. We will not send any ships to Xiphoria." Frustrated, Sarah stepped back, feeling the weight of disappointment. She knew that the Council's decision would lead to the demise of countless innocent lives. She turned to her fellow humans who had joined her in the meeting. Their faces reflected a mix of anger and sadness. Later that day, Sarah gathered her team of fellow explorers aboard their ship, the Starlight. "We can't just sit by and do nothing," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "We have to go to Xiphoria and help them ourselves." Her crew, made up of brave individuals who shared her passion for exploration and compassion, nodded in agreement. "We can't let the Council's cowardice dictate our actions," said Mark, the ship's engineer. "If we have a chance to save lives, we should take it." Sarah felt a rush of pride for her team. They understood the importance of responding to the distress signal, regardless of the risks involved. "We'll need to prepare for the worst," she cautioned. "Xiphoria is not just a name. It's a deadly place, and we must be ready for anything." The team spent the next few days gathering supplies, checking their equipment, and studying Xiphoria's environment. They knew they had to modify their ship to withstand the planet's harsh conditions. Sarah emphasized teamwork, ensuring that everyone played a crucial role in the preparations. Finally, the day arrived for their departure. The Starlight stood ready, its engines humming with power. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling both excitement and fear. They were about to embark on a journey into the unknown, one that could change the fate of many. As they entered the ship and sealed the hatch, Sarah glanced at her crew. "Remember, we are not just explorers. We are humanity's hope. We may be small compared to the Council, but we will not back down." With a determined nod from each crew member, Sarah initiated the launch sequence. The ship trembled as it lifted off the ground, soaring into the dark void of space. The stars twinkled like diamonds, but the team focused on their mission ahead. The journey to Xiphoria was long and treacherous. They encountered meteor showers and space debris, but the crew worked together, overcoming each obstacle. The ship's systems were tested, and Sarah felt proud of how her team handled the challenges. Finally, they approached Xiphoria. The planet loomed large, its surface roiling with storms and flashes of lightning. Dark clouds swirled ominously above, hiding the planet's surface from view. Sarah felt a mix of dread and determination. "Prepare for landing," she commanded. The crew swiftly secured their stations, their hearts pounding in anticipation. They had come to answer a call for help, and now they would face the planet's fury together. As the starlight descended, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a storm. But deep down, she knew they had made the right choice. Humanity had answered the call where others had failed, and they were ready to prove their worth against all odds. Little did they know that Xiphoria would test their limits, but they were prepared to show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. The distress signal had been heard, and the humans were ready to respond. The stormy welcome. As the starlight hurtled toward Xiphoria, the crew braced themselves for the chaos that lay ahead. The stormy atmosphere crackled with electricity, sending jolts of energy through the ship. Lightning flashed around them, illuminating the turbulent clouds in brilliant bursts. "Steady, everyone," Sarah called out, gripping the control panel tightly. "We're almost through the worst of it." Mark, the engineer, monitored the ship's systems with a focused gaze. "The shields are holding, but we're taking heavy hits from the atmosphere. We need to land soon." With a final push through the tempest, the starlight broke through the clouds, revealing a breathtaking but terrifying sight. Below them lay a landscape of jagged mountains, deep ravines, and turbulent oceans. The colors were vivid and surreal, but danger lurked everywhere. "There," Sarah pointed to a relatively flat area near a rocky outcrop. "That looks like a good landing spot." Mark adjusted the controls, bringing the ship closer to the ground. Preparing for landing. Now, the ship trembled as it touched down, skidding slightly on the rocky surface. The crew let out a collective breath, relief washing over them. They had made it to Xiphoria, but their challenges were just beginning. Once the engines powered down, Sarah gathered her crew for a briefing. "We need to set up a perimeter and gather information about the situation on the planet." The distress signal came from a settlement near the coast. "Should we split into teams?" suggested Jenna, the ship's medic. "It would be quicker to cover more ground." Sarah nodded. "Good idea. Mark, you and Jenna will scout the area near the coast. Keep an eye out for survivors and report back. I'll take the rest of the team to investigate the nearby mountains." As the teams prepared to leave, Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She could sense the danger lurking in the shadows of Xiphoria. "Stay in contact at all times, and remember, safety first," she reminded them. With their gear packed, the team stepped out of the starlight, the harsh winds immediately whipping around them. The air was thick with moisture, and the distant roar of the ocean echoed ominously. "Let's move," Sarah ordered, leading her team toward the mountains. The rocky terrain was uneven, and they had to be cautious as they navigated the landscape. Each step was a reminder of the hostile environment they had entered. Meanwhile, Mark and Jenna made their way toward the coast. The winds howled fiercely, making it difficult to hear anything other than the storm. "Keep your eyes peeled for any signs of life," Mark instructed. Jenna nodded, scanning the horizon. "Look over there." She pointed to a structure half buried in sand and debris. That could be part of the settlement. They rushed over, pushing through the wind and rain. As they got closer, they saw that the structure was damaged, but still standing. The walls were adorned with strange symbols and markings, hinting at the unique culture of the Xiphorians. "We need to check it out," Mark said, gesturing toward the entrance. "Careful, though. It could be unstable." They stepped inside, and the darkness enveloped them. Jenna activated her flashlight, illuminating the room. It was filled with remnants of Xiphorian life, broken furniture, tools, and personal items scattered everywhere. As the teams prepped to leave, Sarah could see the resolve in her crew's eyes. They were scared, but they were ready to fight. Once outside, the storm had calmed slightly, allowing them to move more easily. The mountains loomed in the background, their rocky surfaces slick from the rain. Lightning still flashed in the distance, a reminder of the power of the storm and the chaos around them. Mark and Jenna made their way back to the coastal structure, retracing their earlier steps. "Do you think they'll attack again?" Jenna asked, glancing around nervously. "I hope not," Mark replied. "But we have to be ready for anything." They entered the structure, finding it much as they had left it, still eerie and quiet. The damaged console flickered sporadically, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. "Let's see if we can get any more information from this console," Mark suggested, kneeling down to examine it closely. As he worked on the device, Jenna kept watch. The tension was palpable, and every creak of the building felt like a potential threat. "Hurry up, Mark. I don't like being out in the open like this." "I'm almost done," he reassured her, tapping away at the buttons. Suddenly, the console came to life with new images, showing scenes of destruction. Xiphorian cities burning, creatures rampaging through the streets. "Oh no," Jenna gasped, covering her mouth in horror. "They're attacking the settlements." Mark gritted his teeth, focusing on the holographic display. "This is bad. We need to warn Sarah and the others." Meanwhile, Sarah's team was making their way through the dense underbrush toward the Xiphorian settlement. The path was treacherous, and they had to tread carefully to avoid slipping on the wet ground. "Keep your eyes open," Sarah instructed her crew. "We have no idea what we might encounter out here." As they pressed on, they heard distant sounds of destruction. Roars, explosions, and frantic cries. Sarah's heart raced. "We're getting closer," she said, urging her team to move faster. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the trees, and a creature charged out from the underbrush. A monstrous beast, taller than a human, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws. It let out a terrifying roar as it spotted them. "Get back," Sarah shouted, raising her weapon. The crew quickly formed a line, ready to defend themselves. The creature lunged at them, but Sarah aimed and fired. The shot struck true, but the beast barely flinched. "It's not going down," she yelled, panic rising in her voice. "Fall back," one of her crew members shouted, trying to pull Sarah away. "No, we can't let it overwhelm us," Sarah yelled back, determination fueling her resolve. They needed to stand their ground. In that moment, a flash of light erupted from behind the creature. It staggered, the light illuminating a figure standing atop a nearby rock. Another human, Mark, having arrived just in time. "Over here," Mark shouted, firing his weapon at the creature with precision. The beast roared again, its attention shifting to him. "Mark, you made it," Sarah exclaimed, relief washing over her as he joined their ranks. "Where's Jenna?" Mark asked urgently. "She's back at the coastal structure, trying to gather intel," Sarah replied, her focus still on the creature. With renewed determination, they began working together. Sarah and Mark coordinated their shots, creating distractions while the others took aim. Slowly, they wore the creature down. "Now," Sarah yelled as they all fired in unison. The creature let out a final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing to the ground. Breathing heavily, Sarah turned to Mark. "We need to get to the settlement. They might be under attack too." Mark nodded, adrenaline coursing through their veins. "Let's go. Jenna will be waiting for us." As they sprinted toward the settlement, the sounds of chaos grew louder. They could see flames flickering in the distance, casting an ominous glow against the darkening sky. "Stay alert," Sarah called out, her heart pounding in her chest. They were entering the heart of the danger now, and every instinct told her that they had to be ready for anything. Back at the coastal structure, Jenna was frantically trying to stabilize the console. The images flickered, showing more chaos and destruction. I need to get this information back to the team, she muttered to herself. Now, Sarah yelled as they all fired in unison. The creature let out a final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing to the ground. Breathing heavily, Sarah turned to Mark. We need to get to the settlement. They might be under attack too. Mark nodded, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Let's go. Jenna will be waiting for us. As they sprinted toward the settlement, the sounds of chaos grew louder. They could see flames flickering in the distance, casting an ominous glow against the darkening sky. Stay alert, Sarah called out, her heart pounding in her chest. They were entering the heart of the danger now, and every instinct told her that they had to be ready for anything. Back at the coastal structure, Jenna was frantically trying to stabilize the console. The images flickered, showing more chaos and destruction. I need to get this information back to the team, she muttered to herself. Just as she was about to exit the structure, she heard footsteps behind her. Spinning around, she pointed her weapon at the figure emerging from the shadows. Who's there? She demanded, her heart racing. The figure stepped into the light, revealing themselves to be panting heavily and wide-eyed with fear. Please, you must help us. They are coming. Jenna lowered her weapon, her mind racing. What do you mean? Who's coming? The invaders, the gasped, desperation in their voice. They want to destroy everything. We must leave now. Understanding the urgency, Jenna nodded. I'll help you, but we have to be quick. Together, they hurried out of the structure, ready to face whatever awaited them on. As the humans and their new ally raced toward the settlement, the true battle for the future was about to begin. The raging humans were not just responding to a call for help. They were stepping into a war, ready to fight for survival against the unknown invaders, the heart of the conflict. The flames flickered in the distance as Sarah, Mark, and their team raced toward the settlement. The chaotic sounds of battle filled the air, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and fear. As they approached, they could see the settlement in disarray, buildings crumbling, defenders scrambling to protect their homes, and the invaders' ships darkening the sky. Stick together, Sarah commanded, her heart pounding in her chest. We need to assess the situation before we make our move. As they reached the perimeter of the settlement, they ducked behind a crumbling wall to catch their breath. Peering out, they took in the scene. The invaders were unlike anything they had encountered before, humanoid, but with unsettling features. Their skin shimmered with metallic hues, and they wielded weapons that seemed to pulse with energy. The turning tide. The battle raged on, the air filled with the sounds of laser fire and the cries of combatants. Sarah, Mark, and the Xiphorian warriors pressed forward, their hearts pounding in unison as they fought against the invaders. The once quiet settlement was now a chaotic battlefield, alive with the fierce struggle for survival. As they moved deeper into the fray, Sarah could see the resolve on her comrades' faces. The Xiphorian warriors, with their unique fighting styles and glowing energy weapons, complemented the humans' advanced technology perfectly. Together, they formed an unbreakable front against the invading forces. Keep pushing, Sarah shouted, dodging an energy blast and returning fire with precision. The invaders were relentless, but they seemed to falter as the humans and Xiphorians coordinated their attacks. Mark took the lead, sprinting toward a group of invaders who were regrouping. Follow me, he yelled, brandishing his weapon. The team surged forward, flanking the enemy and catching them by surprise. As they engaged the invaders, Jenna noticed a group of Xiphorian fighters holding back, hesitating at the edge of the battle. She sprinted toward them, urgency driving her. What are you waiting for? We need you to fight. One of the Xiphorian fighters, his energy weapon crackling with power, looked at her with determination. We are afraid. We've lost so many already. Jenna placed a hand on his shoulder, looking him in the eyes. You're not alone anymore. We're fighting for each other, and together we can win. You can't give up now. With newfound courage, the Zyphorian warriors charged into the fray alongside Jenna, their weapons igniting with energy. The tide of battle shifted as more Zyphorians joined the fight, inspired by the humans' bravery and resilience. Meanwhile, Sarah and Mark continued their push toward the invaders' command center, a heavily fortified structure at the heart of the settlement. If they could reach it and take down the enemy leader, they might cripple the invaders' coordination and turn the battle in their favor. As they approached the command center, the fighting intensified. A wall of energy blasts erupted from the structure, but Sarah and Mark ducked behind a nearby building for cover. "We need a plan to breach that door," Mark said, catching his breath. "I have an idea," Sarah replied, scanning the area. "If we can create a distraction, we might draw the enemy fire away from the entrance." Mark nodded, formulating a plan. "I'll set up a holographic decoy to lure them out. While they're distracted, you and the Zyphorians can rush in and take them by surprise." Sarah felt a surge of excitement. "Let's do it. We can't waste any time." Mark quickly set up the holographic decoy at a distance, programming it to emit sounds and lights that mimicked their weapon fire. The moment it activated, the invaders turned their attention toward it, their focus shifting away from the command center. "Now's our chance," Sarah shouted. She and the Zyphorian warriors dashed toward the entrance, their hearts racing with adrenaline. As they reached the door, Sarah felt a surge of determination. "On my mark," she whispered, her eyes fixed on the entrance. "Ready," the Zyphorian leader responded, his grip tightening on his weapon. 3, 2, 1, go. They burst through the door, weapons raised, ready to engage the startled invaders inside. The element of surprise was on their side, and they quickly took down the first wave of enemy fighters before they could react. Inside, the command center was chaotic. The invaders were scrambling to regroup, but Sarah's team was relentless. They fought with precision and ferocity, fueled by the knowledge that they were fighting not just for their own survival, but for the Zyphorians as well. In the middle of the chaos, they spotted the enemy leader, a towering figure with a gleaming armor that shimmered under the command center's lights. The figure shouted commands, trying to rally the remaining forces. "Mark, cover me," Sarah called out as she charged toward the leader. The Zyphorian warriors flanked her, their energy weapons blazing as they provided cover fire. With every step, Sarah felt her heart racing. The enemy leader was powerful, but she knew they had to take him down to claim victory. As she neared him, he raised his weapon, but before he could fire, she fired first. The blast struck true, and the leader staggered back, his armor sparking as it absorbed the hit. He glared at her, fury etched on his face. "You think you can defeat us? We are invincible." "Not today," Sarah shouted back, charging forward with renewed strength. The battle reached a fever pitch as the humans and Zyphorian warriors pressed the attack, their unity inspiring each other. Together, they fought fiercely, determined to protect their homes and their new alliance. With one final push, Sarah and her allies overwhelmed the enemy leader, driving him back against the command center's wall. The moment hung in the air, a culmination of their efforts and resilience. "This is for our worlds," Sarah shouted, determination burning in her eyes. With a final strike, they'd brought the enemy leader to his knees, a decisive victory that echoed through the command center. The tide of battle had turned, and the invaders began to retreat in disarray. Outside, cheers erupted from the Zyphorian warriors as they realized they were winning. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, united as allies in the fight for their future. The flames of hope burned brighter than ever as the humans and Zyphorians celebrated their hard-fought victory, knowing that they had forged a bond that would last beyond the battlefield.